Welcome back in, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. One aspect of this Joe Biden situation, and Buck and I were talking about this off air, that I do think needs to be talked about more is why would he do this? What's the motive for Joe Biden to suddenly engage in such sloppy influence peddling that is, even for a politician, several steps beyond where most politicians would go? And Buck, you and I agree that really this is Joe Biden believing his political career was over and trying to cash in on the back end of that political career because he thinks, remember, go back in time when all this was happening. His president, the guy who selected him for VP, has said to Joe Biden, Joe, you're not the guy. You're not the next man up. Hillary should be the pick. And so Joe Biden is sitting there at an advanced age. He's looking at the political landscape. He expects Hillary to beat Donald Trump and be president, be the nominee in 16 and in 20. And he doesn't think there's any math. You know, he's sitting there. He's by 24, I'd be 82 years old. There's no way I'm going to be able to run. He thinks his career in politics is over, and he is deciding, probably with Hunter in his ear yapping at him, now is the time to set the Biden family to make all the money that I've left on the sideline. Don't underestimate, Buck, you know this too. A lot of these politicians are constantly raising money from $100 millionaires and billionaires, and their salaries are $200,000 a year. And Joe Biden wants that beach house. He wants the mansion. He wants the lifestyle that he feels like he's entitled to, that he's never been able to undertake in his 40-plus years as a government employee. And so I think he got reckless, sloppy, never anticipated that he would ever have to defend any of this on the political stage ever again.
It wasn't a bad calculation at the time.
Right.
Obviously, it
correct.
is now. But you think about it, what did Joe Biden in 2015 think was going to be the reality going forward? He must have assumed Hillary's going to run. Hillary is the Democrat choice. She'll win, and she'll win for 8 years. And so at that point, I mean, Joe could have been doing whatever he wanted. I mean, he could have gone on a speaking tour with Putin and gotten away with it. Doesn't matter, right?
Yes.
The whole, or you know, Zelensky, whomever. It doesn't matter. And instead, the Trump phenomenon happened, and all of a sudden, things that are sloppy become a problem for them. I also think this is where the Bidens were relying on, and this worked to a degree, that the media just wouldn't have any interest in this. I mean, the people who broke this story about Hunter Biden and Ukraine, everything that was going on, you know, it's John Solomon, it's Sarah Carter, it's not the Washington Post. It's not the New York Times. And so when you look at this, you say to yourself, oh, it wasn't what is so sloppy that it's hard to believe now, and I think this is the key point, Clay, didn't look like it was sloppy at the time because of the baked-in assumptions about what the next 8 years would be like, give or take.
And also, the only reason this is a story today is because Joe Biden re-entered politics. Right? If Joe Biden's calculus in 2015, when his brain actually worked, that Hillary Clinton was going to win in 16, that she would run again in 20, that the next time there would be an open Democrat primary would be 2024 when he was 82, his political career, he's doing math in his head. He's like, there's no way I can run for president at 82. In 2015, that's what he would have been thinking. And so I think he was so reckless, and I think this was so sloppy, because he never anticipated Trump would win and that he would even run in 2020 against Trump or be the nominee. This would not be a story. If Trump had won in 20, if Biden never re-enters politics, most people would have just not cared about this, right? The Hunter sloppiness, everything else. It's a side note. Maybe people in Delaware care, but we're never talking about it on the radio. It's not a national news story.
Absolutely. I think also with all this, it's worth just thinking through what was really for sale here, because it goes even beyond just the Bidens. I mean, the Bidens are all over this, and they should be held to account. They won't be unless we win the next election. I just want everyone to be clear on that. Anyone who thinks anything bad is coming for the Bidens while Joe Biden is president is unfortunately living in a fantasy land. If you have a Republican who wins, and I think more specifically in this context, if Donald Trump wins, then things might change a little bit. But in the meantime, what was for sale? Why did the Bidens? Do we know what's the total number? I hear different ones. I mean, I've seen 10 million plus. I've seen closer to 20 million in terms of all of the bagman stuff that Hunter was doing over all the years. But okay, millions and millions of dollars.
$20 million, I think, credibly. And
that's the
and by the way,
highest I've
Buck,
seen,
that's what we can actually track.
Find. That's right. Well,
Think
they were
about
trying to
what
hide
Hunter
it.
was getting. That's right. Think about what Hunter was getting. You know, if you wanted truly to pay somebody illegally, I'm just giving. This is not. I'm not your criminal lawyer here. All right, but I'm just saying, you give all the money in cash. Right, we know Hunter was spending money like crazy on hookers and also drugs and all sorts of cash-based businesses. We're only able to track this dollars now because it got wired to him. If it were just cash, and I bet that Hunter was getting duffel bags sometimes of cash, millions of dollars that you can't track.
It is a family show. But I just want to throw out there a lot of ways you could probably keep Hunter Biden happy that aren't trackable via the via wire transfer, if you get my drift, right? I mean, a lot of ways you're trying to buy off Hunter Biden. I'm just saying, a lot of stuff you could probably offer him that doesn't show up in a bank account. Anyway, I don't know if that's the case, but I could surmise given some of the business interests that he was chasing down. But Clay, here's the bigger point: what was for sale, the obvious ploy here was that Hunter was taking in millions of dollars from foreign adversaries of the United States, certainly in the context of communist China. And, Ukraine is it's a very corrupt situation, very dangerous situation for us because they're using us and trying to leverage us vis-a-vis their own internal corruption and also against Russia, as we know. Clay, the whole point is that Papa Joe is going to get on the phone with the Clinton administration, right? This is what the plan was. It makes sense from the perspective of these businessmen. They were not stupid. I get it. They're going to get on the phone and they're going to get policy decisions made, like get that prosecutor fired. That guy's, creating problems for me. Sign that deal, sign that treaty, whatever it is.
Most of life, especially in political life, is based on what, Buck? Access. Can you get access to decision makers in what is otherwise a super complicated, very busy world? That's why so many of these former politicians, what do? They leave office. They don't go to other jobs. Most of them go to K Street, famous street where the lobbyists are based in Washington, D.C. They start taking millions of dollars from people that they used to work with as a representative, and now suddenly they are lobbying, right? And so you are basically in the relationship business. Joe Biden, through Hunter, through other people, can get you in the room that matters. And that's why, Buck, this Miranda Devine story that's up at the New York Post is so significant, because what Joe was saying when he was getting on the phone calls is basically, hey, my son has direct access to me. If you need something, Hunter can come straight to me. And so much of this, I guarantee you, was all under the radar. They were trying to be discreet in some way, but I think the motivation matters. And I haven't heard a lot of Republicans out there. I haven't heard a lot of media people saying, okay, why would Joe Biden do this? Why would he be so sloppy? He thought his political career was over, and he was trying to cash in at the very end of it.
This is why the Clintons were running a very similar scam, but they were more slick about it insofar as they created the plausible deniability of, oh, we're running a foundation, we're empowering women and fighting climate change. It was a pass-through for buying influence with the future Clinton presidency, which is why they're all, and especially the Clinton Global Initiative, which was taking money from, the Saudis and wherever. And that's why it all collapsed when she didn't win. If it was a charity, Clay, well, you just stop giving to charity, right? I mean, you think some of the charities we work with on this show, no matter what happens, no matter who wins the election, they're doing great work, right?
Tunnel to Towers is not going away no matter who wins the election.
Totally. But you
Yeah.
sit here, you go, wait a second, the Clinton Global Initiative just collapsed within 12 months of Hillary not winning. It was a pass-through, but a more sophisticated, lawyerly pass-through scheme for influence peddling. The Bidens were just like, bags of cash under the table for Joe. Who cares?
And they did it with their crackhead son as opposed to sophisticated, actually intelligent people.
Yeah, say what you will about Hillary, and I have said a lot. If you have to have Hillary or Hunter be your criminal defense attorney and you're facing life in prison, you'd want Hillary. You'd want Hillary.
No doubt.
I'm just to be fair.